What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Horsemen Sports, where we continue division debates, this time starting in the AFC South. And we're going to start the AFC South with the Houston Texans, who last year finished the season 3-13-1. And of course, the first question to ask is, did they get better or worse in the offseason? And honestly, the Texans got more talented and they drafted their future quarterback. So 2023, pretty big success from where the Texans were last year and going into last season, and even the last two seasons, really, and everything that's happened there. With as bad as the roster got there, it's still not great. Honestly, still one of the least talented rosters in the NFL, probably, but the direction they're going with DeMeco Ryans coming in, drafting CJ Stroud and Will Anderson at 2 and 3 overall in the draft. The direction they're going is a positive one. And I think whatever their record is this year, it's probably not going to show the truth of the development of the franchise as they go through this pretty massive changing phase, right? So you look at some of the other additions. We already mentioned CJ Stroud. That's massive. He's QB1 immediately. Case Keenum, the veteran, to back him up, which is great. It's basically another quarterback coach in the room with him. The experience that he has is going to be great for CJ Stroud. Then they went out and got him some receivers, Robert Woods and Noah Brown. If you want to add a tight end to that, you can add Dalton Schultz. They even went out and got a running back in Devin Singletary, which you look at everything that they brought in. Again, it's not the most talented guys at their position, but it's guys that are going to come in and be able to make an impact. And guys with a lot of experience to put around the young quarterback and experience from different offenses and seeing different defenses. So with the experience that they're bringing in, you can see what they're trying to do. They're just trying to put building blocks around their quarterback and the young nucleus that they're trying to build. And that even transfers over to the defensive side of the ball when you see that they got Jimmy Ward, who comes over from the 49ers with DeMeco Ryans, Sheldon Rankins coming in, Hassan Ridgeway. At cornerback, they went and got Shaquille Griffin, brought in linebackers, Denzel Perriman and Corey Littleton. At defensive end, they brought in Chase Winovich in free agency and again brought in Will Anderson Jr. So you can see what they're trying to do all around. It's not just the offense. The experience thing that goes to the defense, to a lot of years of experience. DeMeco Ryans brought some of his guys over from San Francisco to kind of help these guys acclimate, I'm sure, and to get used to what DeMeco wants as a coach. So for all the people saying the Texans are going to have the second or third pick in the draft next year, I don't believe that. Now, granted, that's not going to be their pick anyways, but there are people assuming that the Cardinals are going to have a top 2 or 3 pick because of the Texans pick. I just honestly don't know if that's going to be the case this year with all the experience that these guys brought in, with the new coaching that's in place. And look, drafting CJ Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. with back-to-back picks at number 2 and 3 was a very aggressive move. But it was a good change from what the Texans normally do. They're generally a more conservative franchise and have been for most of their history. There are a couple things out there that are out of the norm, but this move, selecting CJ Stroud at 2, as we all expected, but then trading up to number 3 to be able to get Will Anderson Jr. is a good change. I think the Texans fans should be excited that as soon as DeMeco Ryans gets there, those are the kinds of things that are happening. I think it's smart to expect that DeMeco Ryans and who he is and how good of a coach he is and his personality, they're going to be more aggressive trying to win with him here, and having a quarterback that they believe in definitely helps that. So with all that said, let's look through some of the Texans' schedule. Starting with week 1 against the Ravens, they go to Baltimore in week 1, where CJ Stroud gets thrown at the Wolves right away. The Ravens are a playoff team and are coached very well. They're expected to be a very good football team in 2023. I expect them to be very good in 2023. And this is a true test for the entire Texans organization in the new era. They're going to see what they're made of. And I think in this game, it's expected the Ravens to win. I have the Ravens winning. But I think as long as they show a lot of fight, you know what I mean? Don't stop. And don't sit here and get blown out in week 1. You got to look like you know what you're doing. I think they can show a lot to us in week 1 if they just make it a close game. Keep it close, keep it clean, And I think with DeMeco Ryans at coach, I believe that's probably going to be the case. But ultimately, I do have the Ravens winning that week 1 game. So then they go into week 2 against the Colts at 0-1. And this is on the list because it's the first game against Anthony Richardson and it's CJ Stroud's first career division game. And what this one comes down to for me is the fact that I just think the Colts have a better roster overall than what the Texans have. I think Anthony Richardson is showing good signs in Colts camp. Just like CJ Stroud, we expect CJ Stroud to be great. So, to be expected. But again, Anthony Richardson looks like he too is going to be pretty great. So I expect him and this Colts team to be able to win in week 2 against the Texans. And after 2 weeks, I have the Texans starting 0-2. But then we move up a few weeks, go to week 8 against the Panthers, where it's the first overall pick versus the second and the third overall pick. And it should be interesting to see how this game looks with both of these teams in midseason form. By this point in the season, what does Bryce Young look like as a rookie? What does CJ Stroud look like as a rookie? And what do these teams look like? There's so much new pieces onto both these teams, both coaching staffs, completely new. So with everything so new, it's hard to really predict what you're going to see in the week 8 game. Now, it is in Carolina, and ultimately that's what I really went with, is the fact that it's a home game and Bryce Young's the first overall pick. So I have the Panthers winning that game at the end of the day. Also, I think the roster is slightly better. But again, not really sure what to expect with that game. And then after that point, there are really no more notable games, in my opinion, because I don't expect the Texans to have, a top 5 draft pick this year, but I don't think they're going to be very good. So games against the Bengals, they're going to get beat pretty bad by the Bengals, in my opinion, the Broncos, the Jets. I just can't see them keeping up with those teams. So ultimately, I have the Texans going 5-12 in 2023. But I think Stroud's going to look good as a rookie. What it really comes down to is the fact that they're still rebuilding and they're not completely rebuilt. There's a lot of holes. And I think Texans fans would admit that too. It's not the greatest roster on paper, but again, it's not terrible with so many pieces that they added throughout the offseason on offense and defense. They filled a lot of holes. It's just not spectacular talent compared to some of the other teams, especially in the AFC. And with that, that's going to wrap up the Houston Texans episode of Division Debates. You let me know what you think down in the comments. How will the Texans do this season? And if you want to keep up with more Division Debates, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, because we'll have a video every day leading up to the NFL season. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. I'll see you for the next video.